So team, we are going to look at the networking resources on AWS, Google and Azure cloud also today. Okay, the first thing is network connectivities. Okay, so whenever there is a connectivity, there are different scenarios. First thing is cloud to on-premises connectivity. Okay, so that particular connectivity is required when there is a dependency from the cloud to the on-premises. For example, there are any data which are available on the on-premises, and also there is one of the application which is running on the cloud. It requires a data transaction, or users has to access the particular on-premises resources and also the cloud resources. At that particular time, we connect the on-premises and any cloud, maybe it is AWS, Google cloud or Azure cloud, with a service. Okay, so there are two types. One is VPN connectivity, another one is particularly data center to data center connectivity, physical connectivity. Okay, so such connectivities called with the different names in the different clouds. The first thing is on the Google cloud, they call it as a cloud router, and on the AWS they call it as the AWS transit gateway or the direct connect. Okay, and in the Azure they call it as a Azure router service. It's an old name basically. Now it's a express route and VPN gateway. So what is the difference between the express route and a VPN gateway? Okay, VPN in the sense it's normal VPN. It takes or it transacts the particular data packets over the internet. There is no physical connectivity is required. So and it continues to send and receive the data over the internet, and it will be what it meant to be on premises, and the cloud is connected over the internet with the encrypted channel. That's called a VPN connectivity. When it comes to the direct connect or the express route, in that particular cases, we connect data center to data center, okay, by having a physical connectivity. That particular physical connectivity will be done by the ISP, Internet Service Provider. Okay, so basically any of the data center address will not be revealed, or how connectivity is done, it will never be particularly advertised because of the security norms. But so those ISP providers will be connected with their respective cloud provider to connect their data center with your data center. Okay, so that's the first type. So do you have any questions on this? Okay, I'll take this silence now, and I'll go to the next one. Content delivery network. Okay, so in the content delivery network there are multiple type of advantages are there. Basically it uses the edge servers and the other things to deliver your content with respect to the geographical accessibility. Okay, so in the Google cloud they call it as a CDN, cloud CDN. Okay, and in AWS offering they call it as a cloud front, and in Azure they call it as a front door. Okay, so when we will look at the things, how they will be configured, how architecture will be working, and how it is good for us to particularly provide this particular CDN when especially the contents will be delivered to your end customers. Okay, so there are specific intention to have this to deliver a content to your audience. Maybe it is a global level or maybe it is a regional level. So we will see the architecture in the future, but these are all the names for this particular content delivery networks for these cloud parties. Okay, so the next thing is domain and DNSs. So domains and DNS are called it as paired particular services. Okay, domains and DNSs. First we'll look at the DNS. Okay, so DNS is a name resolving resource. Okay, so when, for example, now myself Manju, now I stay in this particular address. Now this particular address will be registered somewhere. Okay, this, whenever you want to send me a letter, you are gonna write a particular address and a location, my name and a location. So it's kind of a key pair value. Okay, my name and address, either of the one is missing, letter will not be delivered to me. Okay, likewise here the DNS works similarly. Okay, so the name and the IP address both are paired. Okay, that maybe it might be a website name or a server name or a service name. So those key pair values will be saved in the DNS. So when there is a request or a packet to be delivered, this DNS will help the packets to route to a particular address. Okay, so that's what the DNS is. Domain in this sense, basically it has a IP address and a name for this, and the domain will serve or maintain the records of that particular parties. Maybe it is internally or externally. So there are two types of domains. One is external, another one is internal. So those external will be registered onto the root domain services. Okay, then only all like Facebook, Instagram, any name which is publicly available has to be registered onto the root servers. Okay, there are multiple procedures for that. We'll discuss later. It is a deep down procedure, but it will take 45 hours to 48 hours to reflect all over the world. Okay, so how that works with the DNS, we'll see it in the later words. So now the DNS service, okay, onto the Google Cloud called as Cloud DNS, and on the AWS offering called as a Route 53, and on the Azure DNS, Azure, they will call it as Azure DNS. What this DNS does is it helps the queries to resolve with respect to the names and IPs. Okay, and without this DNS, there's no infrastructure which will be working properly, or any service or the domain cannot work without a name and IP combination. Either if they give a name, the packet will fail to see where exactly it is, or what service or what particular device that has been named without an IP. Okay, so likewise it is a vice versa. So both has to be there. That's why DNS is being used all over the world, and without a DNS, the name resolution will never happen. Okay, this is the importance of the DNS. So do we have any queries on this DNS? I hope we have already seen much more before only in our work nature. So if you have any questions, just put me, or else like ask me, or else like, yeah, perfect. Thank you. Cool. So now we have seen the DNS DDoS. DDoS is one thing, like there is something called a DDoS attack. Okay, so for that, to prevent a DDoS attack, we have something called a shield or a service. Okay, so for that particular service on the Google, they call it as a Cloud Armor. In AWS, they called AWS WAF or a shield. Okay, on Azure, they call it as a Web Application Firewall or WAF. Okay, so what they do on the DDoS is they are trying to particularly attack a particular server or make the server busy with the huge requests which servers cannot handle. So that kind of attack called a DDoS attack. So to save that, they have these many services. Okay, also Cloud Armor Enterprise, again one more particular service on the Google Cloud, and also on the AWS Shield Advanced and Azure DDoS Attack Protection. There's separate services that are being used, so they're trying to mention it here. Next thing is networking firewall. So there are multiple types of firewall which are available. We just have to remember very important one or very default one. Okay, so in which they have on the Google, they have Cloud Next Generation Firewall, and it's a premium particular thing, or Cloud Next Generation Firewall Standard Enterprise or something like that. Okay, on AWS networking firewall with the so when we are looking at all these things, right, many are not very important for us, but if you know all about the services, that will be easy for us to proceed further. Okay, so on the AWS networking firewall, they call it, and on Azure, Azure firewall. Okay, so all these firewalls, what they do, they have different capabilities with the different plans. Okay, so if you're picking up a highest level of a service, basically we have an packet level inspection, and there are many controls that you're gonna get it on the highest version of it. and we will look at all those configurations when we reach that particular concept in the future. Okay, so this is all about the firewall and the load balancing. When we are looking at the load balancing, we understand that the load balancer divides the loads to the respective backend servers. So the load balancer on the Google Cloud is called as a cloud load balancer, and on the AWS elastic load balancer and AWS application load balancer. So there are different types of load balancer also available, which we will be explaining in the future. Okay, so a few of them are basically divides the load, and few of them they can combine with the WAF. Okay, so that you control in traffic and also you do a load balancing. So such combinations also can be done with the WAF, that we will discuss in the future. Okay, next thing is we were talking about the particular direct connect or express route. When it is coming to the physical connectivity, so we call that as a direct connect, express route, or the cloud interconnect, data center to data center connections. Okay, on the Google Cloud they call it as a cloud interconnect, and on the AWS we call it as a AWS direct connect, and on the Azure express route. Okay, this is about it. And we were also discussing about the VPN. It's a cloud VPN, here also AWS VPN only, and then on the particularly Azure VPN. Okay, and the next thing is network connectivity center. Basically we call it as a WAN. Okay, it's a intercity connectivity, or like it's a very huge connectivity when it is coming to the network connections. Okay, so when WAN is being used, it's a very long distance which can be converted into a single network. Okay, so practically speaking, WAN connections are very rare because we do, it depends on the application whether WAN is required or not. Okay, we will come to the architecture's level, why WAN is being used, and why it plays a very important role for these some specific applications in the future. Next thing is we have a networking connectivity on the particular cloud private service connect. Okay, on the Google Cloud, and next thing is AWS private link, and on Azure private link. So all those private links will give you a secure connectivity of your networks. Okay, we will also demonstrate something why private link is important. It's a pretty straightforward concept. It gives you a secured connectivity, but we will do a demo how it is being connected, why it is important for us in the future. Okay, so after that we have some other networking services where some of the particular tools are being deployed to monitor the networks. Maybe it will help you to see how the data packets are transferred, how we can capture, and what data analysis we can do it. Such monitoring activities can be done with the Network Intelligence Center on the Google Cloud. Okay, and the AWS tool is Network Manager, and also on the Azure Network Watcher. All these three tools will do the same thing, where it will give you an insight of many things. But we will also look at the tools, how does it work on the different platforms. Okay, so the next thing is when the category of premium networking are into place, there are some resources which are not so important for us. We'll skip as of now. And the next thing is we have service mesh. So when mesh is required, and how it can be used to use the mesh technology, it again comes under architecture level, which is not so important for us right now. Okay, so again DNS or different services we can be using, but it is not, this DNS is not the exact DNS which we have discussed. Okay, so this is used for publishing or discovering purpose. That's called a service directory on the Google Cloud, on the AWS Cloud Map, and on the specifically on the Azure, they call it as Hitachi console service on Azure. So it's all about a particular deployment and then the discovery of that particular thing. Okay. Now, very important things which we are discussing right now is a cloud natting. Okay. So cloud natting, it is automatically done by a specific resources. Uh, why this is NAT gateways are important is natting is done automatically with the router's capabilities. But if you want to receive anything, I'll give you an example. Okay. Now you have connected with the cloud to on premises. Okay. When you're receiving a data, now there should be a gateway to receive it, right? Without a gateway, nothing will be received. Okay. We'll see some of the architectures later, where without a gateways, all those connections will never work. Okay. So like that, there is something called a network gateway. Okay. So Azure NAT gateway is there, and other on Google Cloud, Cloud NAT is there, and on AWS NAT gateways are there. Azure NAT gateways are also there. Okay. So those things are there. Now this is very important. Okay. So without this, none of the IaaS things will work. Okay. So why it is important? Okay, I'll tell you. One, there is a IaaS service has to be deployed. Okay, there should be a network, and many of the PaaS services are also dependent on the network. Okay, so such important concept is network. Now, on the particularly Google Cloud, they call it as a virtual private cloud. On AWS, they call it as a virtual private cloud. Again, it's a VPC. And on Azure, they call it as a virtual network or a VNet. Okay. Now, this has the subnet. Inside the VNet, there are multiple subnets, and with the subnets, the resources will be deployed or divided into the different subnets. This is the backbone of all the services, we can say. Okay. Even PaaS will also use this internal networkings, and also again, when we are talking about the networkings on IaaS, we have a major particular activities to create, perform, design. All those things will be there on the PaaS and SaaS, that will be maintained by the backend team of the cloud. Okay, but without network, nothing will work. So all those things we'll see in the future, but we start with these concepts when we enter into the any cloud concepts in the future. Okay, the next thing is wireless networking, which is being used right now on the testing of the multiple important, we can say, next generation applications. Okay, so those things are being done, but this is not important for us right now, so we can skip it. So these are the very important services which we will be looking at in the future, and we will see. First thing is architecture level. If we want to use any of these things, we should understand why it has to be used, and how we can make it better on the design levels. We will see all those things in the future team. Yeah, and that's it.